I'm your host, Effie Pilarino, and today I have the pleasure to have with me Charles Haussy. I hope I pronounced your name, Charles, as best as possible, as a Greek origin, but yet knowing that Greece is one of the countries of La Francophonie, that's for sure. So welcome, Charles.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here, Effie.
So, there's many connecting points for us too, because we both come from the Fintech world, right? And now you spend all your time in the emerging blockchain for finance space. I spend quite a bit of my time in that because I think there's a lot to bridge between these two innovative waves of innovation, if you want, and a lot of it has to do with education and advocacy. For those that are listening to us, Charles Haussy is the Director of Strategic Initiatives at ConsenSys. He's based in Hong Kong. I think he opened the office there, and he's covering the whole APAC region, Singapore, Japan, and Australia. And before this, he was the head of Fintech at the Department of Foreign Direct Investment. Charles, is that correct?
Absolutely, with the Hong Kong government, working together with the regulators of Hong Kong to shape the ecosystem of fintech, but also helping the fintech entrepreneurs of the world to design and shape their Asia strategy and to use Hong Kong as a stepstone for their Asian growth.
Yeah, so that's how I, have you filed in my sort of, if you want, the fintech landscape as the guy in the Hong Kong fintech ecosystem, which of course has grown a lot with its festival and its cross-border activities. So what I'd like to talk about today is, first of all, demystifying some of the misunderstandings and clarifying those, because even though we have advanced, unfortunately, a lot of the attention is still around cryptocurrencies. And as we were saying before, where's the price of Bitcoin? Where's the price of Ether? Who's outperforming? What's the market cap and so on? And that is not what we are talking about. With all due respect to the new alternative asset class of cryptocurrencies and so on, but that is not the essence of what blockchain can do, because obviously it has a lot of potential as an infrastructure to change capital markets, to change financial markets, and many things. So let's start with one of the differences, Charles, that I find a lot of people don't understand is the difference between blockchain and the distributed ledger. Is it the same thing? Should we treat them interchangeably? What's the significance?
That's a great question, Effie. I think first, as a statement, people should not be obsessed by the technology itself. More looking at the use cases, at the problem we are trying to solve, and find which part of the technology is helping the most efficiently to solve these problems. To come back to your questions, DLT and blockchain. Blockchain is a subfamily of DLTs, and DLTs are distributed ledgers. Distributed ledgers are essentially databases which are spread over different organizations or over different individuals. Pure DLTs, so pure distributed ledgers, do not need a blockchain. They are just databases which are updated with one another. Blockchains are databases which are updating with one another, but there is a link, a chain, which keep an auditing and keep records of all these exchanges to make sure that everyone in everyone's databases will have the right information and the ultimate source of truth. So essentially, all the transactions between the databases are settled on the chain. If you are building a DLT platform, you are essentially building an intranet. And I'm old enough to remember the intranet. I'm sure maybe some people in your audience don't even remember what is an intranet, but intranets were private networks built before the internet, which we are all using today. So DLTs are essentially intranets. They are private networks, private clubs, and the internet of tomorrow is blockchain based and blockchain enabled, where these databases and these companies are exchanging information with one another on the top of a global network, which offers them connectivity and reach. So we clearly see a big move. The industry of blockchain has been started as with a lot of projects which were private blockchains, DLT purely. And we see a very strong pattern moving towards connecting these companies and connecting these individuals via the internet with the blockchain technology. So the same way the internet started with intranet and later evolved into an internet ecosystem we know today, the blockchain industry is following a very similar pattern. Started with intranet, DLTs, and moving to blockchains.
Interesting, Charles. My anecdotal evidence tells me that there has been a rise in the adoption or the openness to adopt public blockchains versus the private DLT arrangements that you're talking. And I guess you're confirming that from your field work and from what the color from your market. But is it true that this crisis that's got nothing to do with technology or the financial markets or the corporate world, has this facilitated in a weird way this openness, in the sense that it brought forward so many challenges that are because of the silos that we have built at many levels, that it has really facilitated the realization that we do need more open initiatives, that we do need to get rid of this obsession, if you want, with my IP and my data, and own my IP and own my data and my clients.
Absolutely. I think many people have been stimulated and came to realize that their digital siloed initiative were not bringing all the results they expected, or were not reaching the counterparts, the customers, the partners as easily as they were expecting as well. So what we see now is a lot of financial institutions which have on their portfolio maybe sometimes up to 10 private blockchain networks which they have built, and they are facing the problem of connectivity. They have to maintain 10 different blockchains. They have to invite and convince people to join this private network, and this is very difficult.
Yes.
And they are coming to companies such as ConsenSys to look at how they can basically connect their systems via a global settlement network, a global connectivity network such as Ethereum, to leave this silo. It's not because you are using a DLT. If you are creating a private network, DLT based, essentially you are creating a larger silo. And what the people need right now, because of this crisis, is easier connectivity between their payment system, between their settlement system post-trade. They want to facilitate trading of their assets in different places, for example. And this silo have really to blow. They need to blow out. Either they are digital silos or new silos. And these global settlement network capabilities are really a very strong proposition. So we've been releasing one very, very interesting proposition, which is getting a lot of market tractions, and that's always a good sign, right? It's a protocol called Baseline, which is enabling, essentially, as the name mentioned, to get some kind of settlement layer and connectivity proposition between, for example, your CRM and your ERP, and the CRM of your customer, of your supplier, and the ERP of another supplier, for example, and how you can connect these silos using all the cryptographic benefits of blockchain, making sure that if someone pretends something like I deliver the goods to you, that this message is confirmed as the real message. But looking at not building bigger intranets, but looking at connecting all these machines and all these networks in a more efficient way via global blockchain networks. And Ethereum is a perfect fit for that. And this baseline protocol, which is open source, it's something we developed with EY and Microsoft, so people can build on the top of the software we've been building. They can fork and copy the software we are improving every week. And that's really I think the value proposition. The idea is to build ecosystem to get network effect rather than building kingdoms. And it's much more empowering for a company or any business today to be able to build a digital business in a way that it's inviting partners to join. It's inviting people to build a business on the top of your business, and thinking more like probably like companies like Apple, where the iPhone started as a mobile phone, and today the iPhone means an ecosystem with apps and businesses building apps on the top
of the operating system. Yeah.
And it's not something which is everyone is dreaming about it, but when the technology enables you to do that, I think it brings very strong proposition, and many people are after this right now.
Excellent, very exciting. So I always question how much is Ethereum understood or misunderstood, and I must say, Charles, the other day there was one of the good infographic sites, the Visual Capitalist, put out an infographic around cryptocurrencies, and one part of it had this wheel that it was saying how are cryptocurrencies used, and it had about 10 of them, right? And it was like the worst categorization that I saw. So, for example, Ethereum, in the 5 categories that they only had it for payments and nothing else. There were weird categories like cryptocurrencies are used for transactions or utility, and I couldn't even understand. So in your world, do you still see, and I say that at the enterprise level, a misunderstanding of the capabilities of Ethereum as it is, or its adaptability, like you spoke about, baseline being something born out of Ethereum?
That's a great question. There is so many different audiences within the blockchain ecosystem. Some people are in the ecosystem for speculation and looking at the digital asset and building businesses and crypto exchanges. Mm-hmm. Another big part of the audience within the blockchain world is the developers. There are more than 300,000 developers building today on Ethereum. And then there is the enterprise world, which is building also on Ethereum. So there is so many different views and so many different appetites. This is probably the beauty of this technology. It has been finding ways and bringing value to many different use cases. And sometimes people focus only on one, thinking Ethereum or some other blockchain are only everything their price relates, but there is much more behind. So essentially today, when you look at the way we look at Ethereum at ConsenSys, is we look at the developer engagement. How many developers are building on Ethereum? What is the growth of developers? How active are these developers? Are they building only the protocol? Are they building applications? Are these developers from the application for gaming? Are they coming from the world of finance? So there is many ways to look at Ethereum. Essentially, what is probably the most valuable within Ethereum is the community and the diversity and the competitiveness within the ecosystem. ConsenSys is clearly a leader in this space, but there is thousands and thousands of companies building applications on topics where we are not present. We are providing tools to developers which are building multiple also businesses, and there is a lot of choice and competition. And this is probably an advantage Ethereum has been building over time, because it was the first smart contract platform to be launched after Bitcoin, and this has been bringing a lot of attention at the beginning, and now it's bringing a lot of developers' attention to build in the B2B space. But if you look where the funding is going today, if you look where the VC allocate money, for example, when they invest in blockchain, they are building infrastructure. They are building infrastructure for the financial industry. They are building infrastructure for the derivative industry, for the custodians, for the security token industry. And there is always a strong element and a strong connectivity with the Ethereum ecosystem, because this is where the future of finance is being recoded, and it brings a lot of excitement from many players. If you look at the central banks, for example, they are all considering the advancements that they've been seeing in the Ethereum ecosystem in terms of tokens, stable coins, for example, and how they can learn from these experimentations, and how they can bring CBDCs meaningfully to their ecosystem and build traction. So it's always, I think, a great source of inspirations and a great source of learning. So it's a superbly exciting ecosystem to be part of.
Great. So, having spoken about excitement, I cannot but ask you about the book that is coming up, and I can't imagine the excitement. So tell us about this new book.
A book is a very big project, Effie. I know you've been through this. You always think in 6 months it's going to be done, but it's not done after 6 months. But it's still very exciting. The book is called BlockKong. It's obviously a mix of blockchain and Hong Kong, BlockKong. And I guess it's kind of a continuity of the work I was doing with the Hong Kong government when I was working with many others at shaping the ecosystem, helping the entrepreneurs. And Hong Kong has been very good with me over the years. So it's a way for me to give back. So the book is a non-profit book. I'm using this book to raise funds and help the computer science students here in Hong Kong who wants to get exposure to blockchain. And essentially, it's 21 interviews of 21 entrepreneurs in Hong Kong building on the blockchain industry. So it goes from former regulators which have been leaving their high-profile jobs to be joining a blockchain startup. We met also during this journey of writing this book with a former Bloomberg TV anchors. I met with billionaires in US dollars out of this industry and giving back to the world some of their wealth. I met with people which have been super successful, people which have been having bad experience with the ecosystem. And what I want to illustrate is the journey of all these people within the blockchain industry. I love the technology, but the technology ever change, and there is always new technology coming up. But I think we all need to document and be inspired by all the people building and building the ecosystem. So the people stories are fascinating. So I very much look forward to eventually launch this book. It's going to be out by the end of the summer. And for sure, I'll be happy to come back and tell you more about these amazing individuals we cover in the book. So if you want to join the newsletter and be aware when the book will be available, BlockKong.com is the place to go.
Great. And as you said, it's always fascinating to really talk about the human stories, because at the end, that's what it's all about, right? And you know, Charles, now that you say that, one of the big pleasures of being in this space of innovation, with all its challenges and frustrations and failures and so on, it's meeting so many people and getting exposed to so many stories about how this is all shaped. Because at the end of the day, you know, every ecosystem and every innovation has these wonderful stories. And even though somebody might take a credit down the road, you know, 2 or 5 years down the road, we might have some, you know, Alibaba, some Google, some whatever big unicorn that dominates, you know, even that company got there because of the synthesis of all these journeys that happen behind the scenes, right?
Exactly. No, yes, this is the people are just amazing and inspiring. And sometimes you, as you're saying, meeting the people of this ecosystem is always a great pleasure. The media, the articles, the social media give us sometimes pictures of projects and people which are not exactly the same sometimes when you meet the people in person. And when you get to know the people of the ecosystem, you get to know them with their successes. You get to get their comments on their journey, how much they've been suffering on the way, how much they've been going through challenges, and it's I think it's great lessons, and it keeps us all of us going forward.
Great. This is the human connection. Well, Charles, thank you so much for being with us today, and we definitely look forward to the book and to what ConsenSys is facilitating in specifically in the financial industry.
Thank you so much, Effie. It was great to be here, and talk to you soon again.